That night started out like any other. As always, I curled up on the side of the bed closest to the wall. No matter what, I always woke up on that side, but this time was different. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't against the wall. I was on the edge of the bed facing the open room. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe I'd turned over in my sleep without realizing. But as my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I realized something was wrong. My gaze drifted toward the door, and there, someone was there. Even though the lights were off, I could see it clearly. That alone unsettled me, because I wore glasses and my prescription was strong. Normally, I couldn't make out the smallest detail in the dark. Yet this figure, I saw it in full detail. It was smiling at me, but not a normal smile. Its grin stretched unnaturally wide, exposing nearly every crooked, bloody tooth. And the worst part, it never faded. Its skin wasn't like the shadow figures people often describe. What I saw had skin tone, but its head was bald and its eyes were pure white oval, with no pupils. It was as if it stared straight into me with nothing but emptiness. And the most terrifying detail of all, it wasn't standing on the floor. It was perched above my doorway, leaning down toward me. The only thought in my head was, turn on the light. The switch was right next to me, within reach. I tried to lift my arms slowly. That's when I realized I couldn't move. My body was completely frozen. I couldn't move a finger, couldn't turn my head. It was as if every muscle had been paralyzed. Maybe it was fear, maybe something else holding me down. But all I could do was stare back at it. That grin never left its face. The blood between its teeth seemed to glow red in the dark. My thoughts raced. What if I try to turn over? What if it attacks me if I move? What if I reach for the light and it grabs my hand? Each thought made my heart pound harder. Then I noticed something else. Only one arm and one leg of the thing were visible. The rest of its body was hidden. A half body, yet it felt like it controlled the whole room. I didn't even try to close my eyes. Something inside me told me if I did, what I'd see when I opened them again would be far worse. So I kept staring. Minutes or maybe hours passed. Its white, pupil-less eyes stayed locked on me. And then nothing. My memory cuts off. Either I fainted from fear, or I somehow fell back asleep. When I opened my eyes in the morning, everything seemed normal, but what I remembered was crystal clear. That face, that grin, those white eyes, they were still sharp in my mind. What disturbed me most was that I couldn't remember what I'd done, how long it lasted, or how it ended. It was like watching a movie where only a few scenes stuck in my memory. I was only 8 years old at the time. I tried to convince myself it was just something I'd watched on TV, some silly nightmare. But my mind kept circling back to one detail, the teeth. Crooked, bloody, broken teeth. They never left me. And even now, when I lie down and switch off the lights, sometimes I swear I'll look up and see that grin above my door again. For the first time in my life, I went out drinking with a couple of friends. That night is a blur. I only know I drank too much. When I got home, for reasons I still don't understand, I had trashed the place. In the morning, I woke sore all over. As I tried to clean up, I felt my arm heating up, then burning so intensely it was unbearable. I looked down at my arm and froze. It was covered in cuts and gashes, like the skin had been torn apart. I panicked. I had no idea what had happened, but I knew I had to get to the hospital. They wrapped my arm, and the doctor told me I'd have to stay overnight under observation. For just a wounded arm, I thought, it made no sense. But I didn't argue. That night I stayed. The hospital was silent, too silent. Not the kind of quiet that makes you feel calm, but the kind that presses down on you like a weight. I felt uneasy, but I tried to ignore it. Near dawn, I woke needing the bathroom. As I stepped into the hallway, the same heavy feeling hit me again, like something was about to happen. After I returned to my bed, I heard voices. A man and a woman arguing, shouting obscenities. Who the hell is awake at this hour? I thought. Curiosity got the better of me, and I peered out into the corridor. What I saw wasn't human. Two figures stood in the hallway, their limbs bent in ways no humans should. Their arms and legs looked broken, rearranged, stitched together wrong. And worst of all, they were whispering to each other, planning something. Suddenly, one of them turned its head. Our eyes met. Then a voice rang out through the corridor. No, he saw me. My heart nearly burst. I slammed the door shut, but the words echoed in my skull. He saw me. It's over. Its eyes pitch black like bottomless pits burned into me. With that one look, I felt hopelessness, despair, and death all at once. I had no plan. I bolted for the bathroom and locked myself inside. I stayed there the rest of the night, shaking, waiting for morning. I heard no footsteps, no sounds, nothing. But I knew they were still out there. When the sun rose, I left the hospital immediately. It's over, I told myself. But I was wrong. That night, when I fell asleep at home, I woke up again back in the hospital. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. My body was frozen like before, and beside my bed, leaning over me, was one of them. Its black, soulless eyes were inches from my face. I felt death creeping closer. Then it spoke, not loud, but inside my ears, rattling through my bones. Soon, again, I tried to scream, but no sound came. Everything went dark. When I woke again, I was in my own bed. None of it had happened. I hadn't even gone to the bar, but the memory of those eyes, that voice, is still with me. And sometimes at night, when I lie in the dark, I hear myself whispering the same words back, soon again. Have you ever hated someone you loved so much that deep down you imagined killing them? Maybe you never admitted it, but the thought was there for a moment. Now imagine someone who looks exactly like you, yet isn't you bringing that thought to life. My name is Clara. It was late summer, a calm night with leaves drifting in the wind. I was restless because I was about to see Adrian again after 3 long months. High school love might sound cliché, but when you're living it, it feels like nothing else matters. I wasn't obsessive, and I wasn't a distant admirer either. I was in between. We talked, laughed, even cried together sometimes, but nothing ever went further. That day I finally saw him at school. His dark hair, brown eyes, sporty jacket, thin glasses. He looked like a scene out of a film. But when his eyes met mine, something changed. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. He simply rolled his eyes and looked away. That's when I saw Sophie. Heavy makeup, brown hair, loud laughter. She walked up beside him, brushing against his arm, and the two of them laughed together. My stomach sank. The rest of the day blurred. When I got home, I tried to hang my keys, but my knees buckled. I collapsed to the floor. When I woke, the house was empty. My room looked disturbed, messy, but oddly, some things had been put in place. Among the shards of a shattered vase, I found a photograph. Adrian and me, smiling during our first trip. His face had been scratched out. My hands were bleeding. I washed them in the sink. Then I lifted my head and froze. In the mirror, it wasn't me. It was Adrian. His eyes gouged out, chest hollow. His lips moved. His voice was rough and distorted. "It's your fault." I blinked hard. Now it was me in the mirror, but not really me. My reflection had tangled hair, torn and blood-soaked clothes. In her hand was a knife dripping red. Her grin stretched unnaturally wide. She lifted the knife to her face and let out a shrill laugh that pierced my skull. I squeezed my eyes shut, covered my ears. When I opened them again, I was in bed. It was just a nightmare, I whispered. Mika, my cat, purred beside me, but I couldn't sleep again. The next day at school, Adrian and Sophie were inseparable, smiling in my direction like a cruel joke. My fists clenched with rage. "Clara, are you okay?" a classmate asked softly. I turned to him silent. His eyes widened and he muttered, "Sorry," before backing away. Later, Adrian handed me a folded piece of paper with a smirk. Inside was the same photo from before, but Sophie's face was pasted over mine. That night, sitting in my room with Mika at my feet, I stared blankly at the wall. Then I heard a voice, distant but sharp, like a mad woman whispering in my ear, "Kill, kill, kill." I looked at the mirror. She was there again. My reflection, only worse. Her hair was wilder, her body drenched in blood. And this time she held two severed heads, Adrian's and Sophie's. I froze. Her bloody grin widened. Against my will, my own lips curved into a smile. Then the image flickered and disappeared. I wasn't in my room anymore. I was in the woods, blood-soaked, my clothes torn. Sirens wailed in the distance. I ran, crashing through leaves and branches, until I tripped and fell. When I looked up, she was there, my reflection. But this time she was clean, hair-brushed, wearing my favorite outfit. Her lips moved soundlessly, forming words I couldn't understand. A hand gripped my arm. A police officer. Suddenly I was in a station. Across from me, Adrian's and Sophie's families wept, screaming at me. "Murderer!" I tried to lift my hands, but they were cuffed. In the one-way mirror, my reflection grinned back at me, covered in blood. I wasn't smiling, but she was. Now I sit in a cabin in the woods, writing this before they find me again. The sirens are getting closer. She's still here, staring at me from the mirror, whispering the same words over and over. "Kill, kill,